Good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us here today. I'm Buck McKeon, representing the 25th District in California and the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee. Yesterday, 10 members of the House Armed Services Committee, including all of us, visited Gitmo on a fact-finding mission to tour the facilities and see firsthand the detainee living conditions. After an extensive and thorough visit, I want to reiterate that the House Armed Services Committee's support for continuing our operations there. This Saturday, the 27th, will mark the 2-year anniversary of the President's executive order to close the terrorist detention facility at Guantanamo Bay. Our nation has invested millions of dollars in building state-of-the-art, humane, and safe facilities to detain and prosecute the terrorist detainees at Guantanamo. It would be physically and morally irresponsible to shutter the facility at this time and invest in new facilities in the United States at a time when our nation is tightening its belt. The American people are opposed to importing terrorists into the United States, and the facility at Guantanamo continues to be the safest place to house these dangerous terrorists. I also want to take a moment to commend the professionalism and dedication of the U.S. men and women in uniform stationed at Guantanamo. They do the hard work to keep our country safe every day, and it was an honor to get to visit and spend some time with them. I'm joined here today by members of the committee that accompanied me there yesterday. Mac Thornberry, our vice chairman, will briefly discuss the threat posed by the detainee population at Gitmo. Rob Whitman, chairman of our Oversight and Investigation Subcommittee, will discuss why this facility is so unique and should remain open, and one of our newest ASK members and a former JAG officer, Tim Griffin, will discuss the military commission system set up at Gitmo. Then I'll introduce the other 3 members and take some questions. Mac?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm Mac Thornberry, 13th District of Texas. There has been so much written about Guantanamo the past several years that I think it's important for all of us to be reminded about the central point of what's going on here. And that is that there are very dangerous people who want to kill as many Americans as possible and use any possible means in order to do that. And Guantanamo is a safe place to detain them in order to prevent them from hurting Americans, but also to gather information that can help prevent others from hurting Americans. About 600 people have gone through Guantanamo and been transferred or released. There are about 173 individuals still detained in Guantanamo. A few of them the administration wants to release, but is having trouble finding anywhere to go with them. But essentially, the folks that are left are the people who plotted or assisted in the 9/11 attacks, people who have plotted, planned, or assisted in other attacks on Americans, including bomb makers and the like, and people who have directly killed Americans. The easy questions are gone. These are the folks who are left. And it just seems fairly clear to me that they need to stay there. And that we also need to move towards a common sense policy to have a place to detain some rather unique individuals, and also a process to deal with their cases, regardless of the statements that have been made in the past. Last point I'd make is there are 173 folks still there. I don't think any of us believe those are the last of the people who will need to be detained in some way as the government tries to protect Americans from terrorism. So we need to have a policy moving forward that deals with what we're facing now and what we'll face in the future that makes sense. We can do that, but it's going to take both sides working together.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank Chairman McKeon for leading this delegation to Guantanamo Bay. It was a great opportunity for all of us to understand the facilities and the capability that those facilities bring to the table in dealing with these detainees, many of them very, very dangerous detainees. We had an opportunity to look at the different levels of security there to determine what's being done to meet the needs of detaining these dangerous individuals, but also making sure that we're doing it the right way. And I have to say that the facilities there and the individuals who man those facilities are doing the job in a tremendously successful way in making sure that they are meeting the needs of this country, and that is keeping those terrorists out of the combat zone, or out of areas where they can do harm to Americans and other individuals, but making sure too that they keep in mind that they are doing that in a humane and fair and equitable way. So that was a great aspect of what all of us, I believe, took away from that trip. We also got an opportunity to visit the courtroom there, to understand how these individuals would be tried there, to make sure that all the necessary facilities are in place. It was great to see the technology that they brought to bear there to make sure that that everybody has the opportunity there to make sure that these individuals are tried in a fair and equitable manner. I was also impressed by the efforts of those folks there serving in uniform there at Guantanamo Bay. They are doing a fantastic job under, in many situations, very trying conditions. So it was a great opportunity for us to go there and learn, to see firsthand, to see the facilities, to see how our men and women in uniform are operating there, but also to see what those facilities bring to bear to make sure that they are providing the maximum level of security with these detainees. And as you heard earlier, these are some of the most dangerous individuals in the world. These are individuals that each and every day have worked to seek to do harm against America and Americans abroad. And it's good to know that we are doing a fantastic job in detaining those individuals and making sure we do that in a very secure environment, but also making sure we keep in mind that we are treating them in the most humane way possible. And again, the folks that are there are doing a great job doing that. We can't forget the efforts that they're bringing to the table too. So a great opportunity to do that. I want to thank the other members of our congressional delegation that went there to see that with us. It's a great opportunity to make sure that we share our thoughts on both sides of the aisle as we address this issue, an issue that doesn't have necessarily in many instances clear delineations about what the best decisions might be. So it's good to go there and understand that firsthand. Thank you.
Tim Griffin. I represent the 2nd District of Arkansas, and I am a 14-year JAG officer in the Army Reserve. I want to thank the chairman for putting this trip together. This was a bipartisan trip, and I think we learned a lot seeing firsthand what was going on down at Guantanamo Bay. One of the things that was most striking to me was the facility that they have there at the courtroom. They actually have 2 courtrooms, but one in particular we got to tour has all the technology available and needed to keep certain individuals behind protected glass, to make facilitation for interpreters, and all the different logistical issues that would come up in a situation where you have folks speaking different languages and you're dealing with very sensitive information. They have all of that there. It is a world-class facility. We got to speak at length with the chief prosecutor as well as the chief defense counsel about the staff that they have and the facilities that they have, and I can tell you that, like the other JAGs that I've worked with in the Army, the folks that we talked to, one was Navy, one was Marine, they're top-notch. They're professional, just like all the other people that I've worked with over the years. And I came away with a complete confidence in their ability to do whatever is asked of them. They are there ready and willing to proceed with the prosecutions of people like Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and the many others there that, as you heard referred to earlier, plotted at 9/11. They're ready to do that. Also, there's been a lot of talk about the military commissions, and one of the points that I would make is that military commissions are different than our system, that they're no less just. And military commissions recognize, as authorized by this Congress and into law and signed by the President, military commissions recognize that what happens on a battlefield is different from what happens in a more forensic setting in law enforcement. And there are some differences between the rules. We recognize that. But they're no less just. And in fact, I have never personally as a JAG tried a case with the military commission, so I rely heavily on the experience of the folks, the JAGs that we talked to down there. And one of the things that was emphasized by the Navy prosecutor was the way that the rules, the evidence in the military commissions, the way that they make provision for the differences between the chaos of war and the traditional law enforcement setting that we have here in the United States. So I was impressed, particularly with the professionalism of our service members. Learned a lot, and there's a lot more to learn, and I look forward to digging into this issue deeply with the fellow members of the committee.
Thank you, Tim. As I mentioned, he's one of our 13 outstanding freshmen that are joining us on the Armed Services Committee this year. We have 3 others here with us today. John Runyon from New Jersey, Bobby Schilling from Indiana, Illinois, and Todd Young from Indiana. John?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and also thank you for putting this trip together, because quite frankly it was an eye-opening experience. Myself representing New Jersey, we're very close to what happened on September 11th. And since 2002, Guantanamo Bay has detained many of the people that were the masterminds. Having that so close to me, and frankly, having that personal attachment and knowing people that were there, that passed in that, catastrophe that happened, and people that reacted to it. There's a need for a facility like this. The men and women that are there professionally manning this facility, my hat is off to them, much like any other person in uniform throughout our country. They're doing a tremendous service to us, and they're keeping the people that are detained there out of this fight that we are conducting on a global scale. I appreciate their professionalism and the things that they're doing for us. Because as everyone, all the other members have said up here, it is a top-notch facility, ran professionally by professional people. Thank them for everything they do. It was truly an eye-opening experience to go down there and see the things they go through on a daily basis. And you talk about how you get the feedback from people that, the detainees aren't being treated right. You never got that sense. I personally wondered, what is the life of our service members out there, kind of out in the remote part of the island there that, quite frankly, there's not much around. They are there to do their job, and then they're taking a lot of pride in it, and that professional aspect of it, I truly praise them for that. We know it's hard on our service members and their families for what they do and the time they give up and putting themselves in harm's way. That facility is there to protect us, and they are to protect us from it. I thank them for it, and it was truthfully, again, an eye-opening opportunity to go down there and experience that. And as we move forward, we need to keep that in the back of our mind, that facility is a state-of-the-art facility that is protecting us from bad people around the world.
Hi, I'm Bobby Schilling from Illinois 17th District. I also would like to thank the representative for inviting me to Gitmo. This is of extreme interest to our district because right next to the 17th Congressional District is the Thompson Prison Facility, in which they were looking at moving these folks into. And one of the things I from the start had looked at is, number one is why would we want to close Gitmo, and then will it make America any safer by bringing detainees to our soil? And after taking the trip yesterday, you know, it just reassured me that they're in the right place. And just as John had indicated, you know, our men and women, the professionals that we have there, boy, my hat is off to them for the service that they give to this country. You know, they go through a lot over there. And, you know, I was very impressed with how well the detainees are taken care of. For example, you know, they have a library with access to several thousand books. You know, they get to watch TV. When we were getting ready to leave, they were out playing soccer, several of them. You know, so it's nothing compared to what it tends to get painted here in the States. And, you know, like I said, I just enjoyed the opportunity. It just reaffirmed my conviction that Gitmo needs to be maintained, and we need to leave those folks right where they're at.
Hello, I'm Todd Young. I represent the people of Indiana's 9th Congressional District. I thank the chairman, the vice chairman for their leadership in organizing this delegation. It was a bipartisan delegation, and this committee has a great history of bipartisanship. And you know, I think all of the people that visited Guantanamo Bay recognize the complexity of some of the issues we're dealing with down there. But they also recognize, especially when seeing it up close and personal, what a fine job the leadership down there is doing in terms of running that facility and working our way through these various issues. As a former deputy prosecutor, I've dealt with various criminal matters, so I, of course, had some interest in some of the things that Congressman Griffin was speaking to, the legal dimensions to this, and was very encouraged by the extent to which people at all levels have been thinking through these matters and providing sufficient resources to ensure that due process through the military commission framework does occur. As a former Marine Corps officer, I of course was impressed by the professionalism of our troops down there, the sailors, the soldiers, the Marines, the airmen. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, I am so proud when I come into contact with these individuals and see the discipline that each of them shows when confronted by some of these individuals, very unsavory individuals in not all cases. We need to continue to ensure that all of these security considerations are done within the ambit of fiscal responsibility. I was encouraged that the admiral in charge of the base down there spoke many times about different things that he has done, concrete actions to ensure that all our tax dollars are being spent wisely. And I guess my final point would be to tell the American people that despite some of the earlier and changing popular perceptions about Guantanamo Bay, there's a great emphasis from top to bottom about decency, about treating human beings down there in a manner consistent with international norms, the rule of law, and our own laws. So encouragement all across the board. I'll look forward to dealing with these issues with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle as they come before the committee. And thank you for this opportunity.
Question? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Which Democrats were part of the Codell, and how long did you actually stay at the facility?
It was one-day trip down and back. Shelley Pingree from Maine and John Garamendi from California. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, did you have any reaction to the President's signing statement on the defense authorization bill containing Guantanamo? And also, the reported executive order that he's working on about formalizing detention with review. Do you have any thoughts on that item?
I was disappointed in his statement, but we have a difference of opinion, and he's welcome to his, just as I have feelings myself and the other members of the committee and those who have been down there. I think we will look to see if he comes out with any new statements, and we will react accordingly. I think the American people have spoken loud and clear that they do not want any of these terrorists brought into the United States. And we will do our utmost to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Mr. Chairman, respectfully, haven't you won this fight? I mean, isn't this over?
I hope so.
I mean, so why would you not
You know,
today?
one thing I've learned here in Washington in my 18 years is some things are never over. And so when we hear about potential statements or other things that may be done, we think that that we need to keep on top of the issue. Plus, not all of the members have been down there. And I'm going to work hard to see that all of the members of our committee in the next couple of months have a chance to visit on site and see it. In the last Congress, Chairman Skelton had not been able to go down there. I encouraged him to. Adam Smith was going to go with us, but because of his closeness to Kathy, he was, I think, spending time with her and his family, and assured me that he will be going down there shortly. So make that effort together. Yes?
What's your plan then for this year, aside from making trips down to Guantanamo? Are you going to be seeking new legislative language, an authorization bill, or a separate moving piece of legislation?
Probably. We'll see how this plays out. I think we got language in the last bill that was very good, but if there is some new statement coming out that takes us in another direction, we'll look at that and we'll react accordingly. Yes?
I'll have a question here. Do you sense a growing disconnect between the military leadership in China and the civilian leadership? I know that when Secretary Gates was in China, he said that President Hu was unaware that the military was testing a stealth fighter, the J-20. And that fighter, is there a possibility that the technology for that plane was perhaps stolen through cyber espionage to build that plane?
My understanding is that they built it on information that they received from Russia, from a Russian plane that they were able to copy. I haven't had a chance to talk to the Secretary since his return. I'd like to hear, more of his response to that. I think China is a concern, and we need to be looking at China. We need to be looking at North Korea. We need to be looking at Iran. And that's what really concerns me when I look at the cuts, potential cuts that they're talking about for the defense budget. This is not a safe world.
Last question, please.
Yes.
What about the President's assertion that Guantanamo is being used as a propaganda tool? Have you thought, is that exaggerated? Is that something that you're not concerned about?
You know, I think the Al-Qaeda will use anything that they can as a way to bring people into their way of thinking. If it's not Guantanamo, in Illinois, wherever they can find a way to, they think, make us look bad, they will do it. But I tell you, the way our troops are handling this situation down there, the way they're treating those prisoners. I saw a little thing on a blog today, a guy that says he was a prisoner at Guantanamo, and the things that he told about happening there, it's just not so. Those things are not happening there. In fact, they told us what they do, they have prisoners at different levels of containment based on how they live. And they have learned to do the things that they're asked to do, and they get better treatment, meaning they have more freedom. They can be in their cell 20 hours a day, or they can be out of their cell 20 hours a day. And that's based on how they react. And because of this kind of treatment and communal living that they've established down there, the guards, and the respect that the way the guards maintain themselves and don't react when they try to throw feces on them or try to, spit on them or attack them in different ways. They handle themselves very well, and they have to respect that. The leadership told me that their amount of what would you call it, attacks or violence in 2009 was well over 600, dropped to 109 in 2010. So they're we're making great headway down there. They're kept in a very humanitarian way. The last thing we saw was a group of detainees out in the field playing soccer. Seem to be enjoying themselves very well. So I think it's a great facility for us. I would like to see if we have detainees in other parts of the world that we can't seem to decide what to do with. That would be a place for them. We could handle up to 800 there. And rather that than spend millions or billions building new facilities and moving elsewhere when we've already spent so much and we already have such a great facility there. Thank you very much.